Hey guys, it's Clint, and I'm going to talk about some spoilers here with Avengers Endgame. I waited a little bit. I waited longer than other people to make a video about it. And that's because I'm not interested in spoiling anything. Not my thing. But I do want to talk about it, so this is fair warning right now. There's going to be spoilers in this video. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want it spoiled, come back and watch this later after you've seen the movie. Okay, so I also, in my video that I posted yesterday, I will admit, you guys caught me. I didn't research the video as thoroughly as I would normally do. So I made a few mistakes. I think that they were minor mistakes, but they were still mistakes, and y'all called me out on it, so thank you for that. I will correct those in this video. First, I want to remind you that my book, Downcast, we're in the final week. There's only 5 days left. And right now we're at 21,816. I suspect we should be able to get to 25,000 before the campaign ends. But why not go for more than that if you haven't backed it yet? Time is running out. So get on there, back it. That way make sure you get your copy. All right, so first correction here. Again, I don't think it's a deal breaker. But, I was wrong, so I do want to point this out. The article that we were going over that was on Image Comics sweeping the nominations for the Eisner Awards, they had the name Jeff Lemire a lot. And, when I hear the name Jeff Lemire, I'm thinking for some reason I mixed it up with John Layman. And so my point still stands with Jeff Lemire. I just made sort of an offhand comment that I was kind of interested in reading Chew, maybe because I'd heard so much good about it. Not even the same guy. So, and I know this, I know this, but I just, I haven't looked at this in a long time. So I just kept thinking it was Jeff Lemire that wrote Chew. So thanks for calling me out on that. The other one too is another just mix up. I feel like I'm a victim of the Mandela effect, because I know that Eric Stevenson had been the publisher of Image Comics for quite a while, and I thought that he went to do his own writing, and then Eric Larson was the publisher, and I had been under that impression for months that Eric Larson was the publisher. I swear I saw this somewhere. I'm looking it up everywhere I can. Obviously, he's still on the board, but he's not the publisher. Still, I'm looking at the board here. Eric Stevenson is still the publisher. This is not like mistaken identity. This is just, I actually thought that they sometimes they will trade, and Eric Larson had been the publisher several years ago. But he's chief financial officer. So yeah, thanks for calling me out, and those are the specifics that I got wrong. All right, so Avengers Endgame. There were some plot holes, and I'm sure that I missed plot holes because I heard there were so many. And this is why, for me, having to write some kind of a team book would be a nightmare because you have so many moving pieces, and you have to give everybody their time to shine and all that kind of good stuff. And I get that. I actually will tell you, I enjoyed Avengers Endgame. I know I've heard a lot of people say that it sucks, including a lot of people that have not even seen it yet. So that's weird to me. Like, you got to watch it if you're going to, if you're going to judge it, you got to watch it. If you didn't watch it because you haven't watched, several of the last Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, then that's cool then too, whatever. If you just don't like the movies, I don't know why it would change with this one. So I said this before I went on to Mike S. Miller's stream, and I gave it an 8 out of 10. It wasn't my favorite Marvel movie, but it was good. I enjoyed it. It was satisfying. That is until, besides a few cringy moments, but until the end, when the whole timeline moving forward in time, all that kind of stuff, made me realize that really causes some problems for the MCU. Now, I'm going to watch the Spider-Man movie, just because Spider-Man's probably one of my favorite characters ever. So I will watch probably every Spider-Man movie that ever comes out, even if it sucks. But Avengers Endgame didn't leave things in a nice place. It really felt like everything was kind of messed up because of this time travel thing. And the ironic part is they sort of at the beginning, they explained some of the time travel stuff and what the way that time travel should actually work. And they kind of made fun of Back to the Future and a couple other little things. But they themselves in this movie kind of screwed up with the timeline. And not just in this movie, but apparently in the past too, just getting, when things are all set, what the timeline is. So it might make things a little weird, but the biggest one that I just couldn't get off my mind was that of Peter Parker. Now, if Peter Parker moved ahead 5 years in time, he got snapped out of existence and then snapped right back into existence 5 years later, where, it's not like 2 seconds later after he was snapped and he's back. He was gone for 5 years and then he's back now. Last time I checked, for most people, high school does not last for 5 years. So for him at the end of the movie to go see his buddy back in high school again, like they've just been there waiting in high school for 5 years until he can come back and rejoin him. And then they're going to have the next Spider-Man movie and it's in high school. None of this makes sense. This is a massive problem. I would imagine that they're going to have to address this. They've got to. But the movies going forward, if they're really taking place in the future, then it does, I don't know, makes things a little weird. You can't be timely, that's for sure. But essentially everything has moved to the year 2023. And if Spider-Man Far From Home is taking place, which they say it is, after Avengers Endgame, then that means that Spider-Man is 5 years into the future. Spider-Man Far From Home is in the year 2023. Now, this could have been fine if they just said, oh, hey, he's in college now, or, finishing his GED or something like that. That would be fine. But he saw his friend in high school with a backpack on. So, this is a little weird. So is he still in high school after Endgame? Yep, I looked it around, and I know I'm not the only one that has been bothered by this, because there's several articles that are covering the same exact topic. Now, I've got one possible scenario, and that is that his friend, I don't even remember the guy's name, but all of the people he knows in high school, let's say all of his friends, they all also got snapped, and so they're all starting back in high school to finish their degree 5 years into the future. Maybe that's possible. There's no explanation there. In Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man gives his buddy a hug, and it's like, he hadn't seen him in 5 years, thought he was dead, all that kind of stuff. But they're still in high school. They're walking through the halls of their high school. And this article from Bustle actually goes over all the exact same things. This to me is such a major plot hole that I can't reconcile it. It is distracting. There were a lot of good things about the movie that I enjoyed. I liked, it hit me in the feels, a few times actually. You've been watching these movies and the characters have been developing over 10 years, and I've enjoyed most of the movies. They've done a good job, but I can't stop thinking about this plot hole. It's major. Well, without explanation. So there's got to be one in the Spider-Man movie that's coming out real soon. But all I can do right now is speculate how they're going to solve that, what I think is a major problem. So another thing I saw in Avengers Endgame, this is, besides the Spider-Man thing, I did enjoy things. There is this little bit of formula. They do it. It's almost like a jump scare, right? A jump scare, it works so often, but it's so cheap. Well, in this case, this is like the jump scare of feel-good moments, and that is when they have a hero that's in serious trouble and it looks like they're going to be defeated. They've got nothing else to do, and then all of a sudden, in Avengers style, a new superhero that you've not been thinking of, since earlier in the movie, will show up and at least save them in that moment of terror, in that moment where they're going to be destroyed. And Avengers Endgame did that. I can't even count the number of times they did it. They did it several times. But the thing is, I fall for it every single time. And not that I necessarily think the bad guy is going to win, but I think somebody that's in the room at least, or in the vicinity, is going to save the day. But then somebody will come in that you're not expecting. They did it once with Black Panther. They did it with Captain Marvel. They did it, they did it time and time again. Still gets me every time because it's, yes, you know, like, yeah, you want the good guys to win. Something good is happening. They're being a hero, I guess. A hero is saving another hero. So that's fine, but it does feel, it feels a little cheap. One cringy moment was, of course, the girl power moment. I don't know what else to call it, but it's blatantly obvious that there were, they just wanted to have a moment of just to show all the female superheroes that they had. Now this, of course, will conflict directly with the narrative that Captain Marvel is the first anything, really, is the first anything, because they already have so many female leads. They have female superheroes, but also, remember Ant-Man and the Wasp? Those are co-leads. The Wasp is a woman. So I think you get my point. There was, couple, I can think of 2 virtue signaling moments. They're kind of like you shrug them off and you move on. Now, I've heard some people read into the storyline and like make comparisons to Donald Trump and all this kind of thing. I'm going to disagree with that. I really don't think that's the case. I think it's important to be careful not to be like a gender studies feminist. They'll watch any movie and then find all of the toxic masculinity that they can find in it, and they'll make these really acrobatic claims in order to justify that it's some kind of propaganda or something like that. That's what feminists do. Now, I will say for me, I have a tendency to be very sensitive with the movies that I watch, and if they're trying to indoctrinate me with, I guess, really leftist ideals. And, you know, I've made videos about those kinds of things. Some of you have disagreed with me, and that's okay. I will say, even with at my level of sensitivity, I didn't see the comparison, honestly. So I do think, like, if you're going to... There's 2 levels that you can watch a movie. You can go expecting to be entertained and be disappointed, or you can go to a movie and expecting to be disappointed, and it would be very, very hard to be entertained in that circumstance. So I always go to a movie expecting to be entertained. If I'm entertained, I'm happy. If it exceeds my expectations, I'm happy. If I find a propaganda film, I'm pretty annoyed about that. So that was kind of a lot to suss through. But I want to know if you've seen Avengers Endgame. What are your thoughts? What are some plot holes? I've heard of several others, but I'd love to hear what your plot holes are. To me, this is the biggest one because it's distracting. I can't just feel good about the movie because this is so distracting. So let me know in the comments, and don't forget, check out Downcast. It's in the description below, and you're running out of time, so it would be a great time to jump on and get yourself a copy. Thank you very much. I will talk to you later.